for photographers collapsing in the heart of the African savannah, only to awaken surrounded by a pride of lions. But what happened next defied every law of nature. What do you think the lions were doing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The African wilderness breathes beneath the sun's fierce gaze, so intense it seems to bend the very air. Heat waves shimmer like ghostly tides, creating a mirage effect that blurs the horizon. The towering baobab trees stand stoic in the harsh sun, offering rare pockets of shade to those lucky enough to seek them. Meanwhile, the grasses sway gently like oceans of gold, hiding stories from a time long forgotten, ancient secrets that are never spoken aloud. The photographers trudge across this ever-changing canvas of life. Mark, the youngest of the group, led them with an energy that never seemed to fade. His goal was clear. He wanted to capture the legendary Singali pride, an elusive family of lions spoken of only in hushed tones by local guides. The pride was rarely seen, but their roars could be heard echoing through the valleys at dusk. By his side was Jake, a seasoned photographer whose face and hands were weathered by years of experience. His skin had the texture of old leather, and although he had once captured the chaos of revolutions, now he sought the quiet peace of wildlife. Then there was Maria, her tight curls tucked under a sun hat, who marveled at the smallest things, every beetle, every footprint. She had never left the city before, but something about the savannah felt deeply familiar, as if she belonged here. And finally, Sarah, a calm, composed soul who wasn't just there to take photographs, but to truly listen to the land, to the stories that it whispered through the winds and shadows. Their journey that day had been long, grueling, and relentless. By mid-morning, the heat had reached a suffocating level. The air felt thick, oppressive, and their water supplies were running dangerously low. The path they had been following for hours had long since disappeared into the dry earth. Still, they pressed forward. Mark was certain the pride had passed through the area recently. He had found fresh scat, claw marks on a baobab tree, and a half-eaten kudu carcass from a few days earlier. "We're close," he whispered, sweat pouring down his face. "I can feel it." But the wilderness shows no mercy for dreamers. Maria was the first to falter. Her knees buckled beneath her, as if invisible strings had been cut. She collapsed face first into the dirt, her camera sliding away from her grasp, skittering across the dry earth. Mark rushed back to her side, staggering himself as he sank down next to her. His breath came in shallow gasps, and his fingers trembled as he tried to help her. Sarah froze. "Jake!" Maria shouted, but Jake was already on his knees, hand clutching his chest. His breathing became ragged, like he was struggling to get enough air, and he collapsed against a rock. His canteen was bone dry, and the sun's unrelenting rays made the air feel even hotter. Shade seemed like a distant dream. Sarah quickly pulled the radio from her pack, hoping for a signal, but all she heard was static. The satellite beacon was dead. The situation was growing worse by the minute. Her mind raced, but her legs buckled under her, and just ahead, about 20 paces away, she saw a twisted baobab tree. There wasn't much shade, but it would have to do. She crawled forward, the world spinning around her, the air shimmering like molten glass. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in her ears. When she finally reached the tree, she collapsed beneath it, gasping for air. But then, movement. At first, it seemed like wind in the tall grass. But no, it was something more deliberate, more fluid. Shifting shapes, golden shapes, silent, majestic, and immense. From behind a ridge, 5 lions emerged, 4 lionesses and a single, regal male, the alpha. They did not growl, nor did they charge. They did not even blink. One by one, the lionesses fanned out in perfect synchronization. Their paws made no sound against the dust. Their golden eyes swept over the fallen humans, not with hunger, but with a curious intensity. Sarah couldn't breathe. She couldn't speak. A lioness approached her, not snarling, not attacking, just watching. The great alpha stayed back, massive and imposing. His mane was thick, catching the sun's light, his body scarred from many battles. His golden eyes studied the scene with regal stillness. It wasn't the gaze of a predator, Sarah would later say. It was the gaze of a judge. One of the lionesses approached Maria and sniffed gently at her hat. Another brushed past Mark, her tail flicking softly against his arm. Jake remained motionless beneath his rock. The lions circled him, sitting near him, but not touching. Then they laid down in a wide circle, positioning themselves protectively around the fallen humans. The alpha stood still, silent and watchful. It was as if the lions had adopted the strangers into their pride, even if only for a short time. Sarah dared not move, but slowly, her fear began to turn into awe. There was no malice, no threat, only a deep, almost surreal presence. It felt as though nature itself had paused, holding its breath to bear witness to what was happening. Then, The alpha raised his head, his ears twitching. He took a deep, deliberate breath, and then he roared. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Each roar was so powerful that it tore through the air, echoing like thunder over the dry hills. 2 rangers patrolling the far edge of the reserve heard it. "That's no territorial roar," one of them said. "Something's wrong." They jumped into their land cruiser and raced toward the source of the sound. Back beneath the baobab, the lions waited. The pride rested in the heat, their bodies still. Occasionally, their tails flicked lazily to shoo away flies. The alpha remained motionless, his eyes locked onto the horizon. Then, the unmistakable rumble of an engine filled the air, followed by a cloud of dust in the distance. The lionesses rose, and the alpha stood tall, alert. The rangers arrived moments later, their eyes wide with disbelief. There were the photographers, passed out in the heat, and there were the lions, sitting calmly around them, not attacking. "They're not attacking," said one ranger. "They're guarding." As the truck neared, the lions moved, not in panic, but with graceful steps. One lioness gave a final glance at Sarah, while another paused beside Jake. The alpha stepped forward, standing between the rangers and the fallen humans. He then slowly turned and walked away, his pride following suit. One by one, the lions disappeared into the long grass, their golden bodies vanishing like shadows. The rangers were left in stunned silence, unsure of what to do next. But then, their training kicked in. They took action: water, cold packs, shade. They worked quickly to revive the photographers. All 4 were alive, barely. Sarah was the first to stir. They waited in silence, the weight of the moment settling in. Then Sarah whispered, "It didn't hurt us. They waited for us." Back at the ranger post, the team administered fluids, salt tablets, and rest. Mark sobbed when he woke up. "I was chasing the perfect shot, and I nearly killed us." Jake, pale and shaken, muttered, "It should have been the end of us." But it wasn't. Many of the cameras were still recording, capturing footage of what had just transpired. The footage quickly went viral. Experts were called to analyze the situation. Some biologists believed the lions' instincts had kicked in. They saw weak, non-threatening creatures and simply chose to ignore them. Others argued that the behavior was unique, even unprecedented. Wild lions simply don't sit near humans this calmly, unless something deeper stirred in their instincts. But those who had been there knew what they had seen. "They protected us," Sarah said. "Not out of fear, not out of hunger, but out of recognition of something fragile, something familiar." 2 weeks later, Sarah returned to the reserve with the rangers. They brought back the cameras as an offering, a sign of gratitude. As they approached the baobab tree, the land was still golden, just like it had been before. Sarah found something pressed into the dry earth, a single paw print, fresh and massive. She knelt down and placed her hand inside the print, her palm swallowed by its size. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, softly, she said, "They didn't come to punish us for our ignorance. They came to show us who we are in their world. Fragile, foolish, but still worth sparing." As the wind stirred the tall grass, Sarah gazed out toward the horizon. There, just for a brief moment, she saw the golden form of the alpha lion above the ridge. And then, just like that, it was gone. In the wild heart of Africa, where survival is a constant struggle and mercy is a rare thing, for lives were spared by creatures often feared. The lions didn't attack. They waited. A moment of silent understanding between 2 worlds. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you see wildlife in a new light, please like, subscribe, and join us as we share more powerful true stories from the animal kingdom. Your support helps us bring these voices of the wild to the world.